Hello and welcome back to another Spider-Man video, where in today's video we're covering The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and this guy manages to somehow spend 2.5 hours failing to take apart the figure to begin with. So first things first, we're going to go over the articulation and the issues that I have, and the paintwork. The paintwork itself I'm completely fine with. You can see I couldn't really find any QC issues with mine. There's like minimal areas where like paint could maybe use a touch up. My main problem is the articulation, like that diaphragm joint. You're getting no movement forwards out of that at all. The head doesn't go up far enough for Spider-Man-like poses. You've got no toe articulation, and you've got no boot swivel either. Some major things that need modifying. So, first things first, as usual, we'll start with a cup of hot water, or boiling water. This is normally fresh out of the kettle, so I'm going to take the head off straight away. Put that to one side, back in the water, remove that dumbbell ball joint. I accidentally crushed it a little bit with pliers, but we'll put him back in, and then we'll take off the feet as well. There's number one, and then back in for the second dunk. You can tell it's soft when it falls over, and then take off the second foot, crunch him up, chuck him back in there. This was to try and remove the diaphragm. I ended up taking his legs off by accident. This proved to be really difficult, and I had to end up like using a rotary tool to kind of cut away so I could remove it in the end. While that's cooking in that water, I'm going to chop off the boot, just so I'm ready for that later. Didn't want to waste time while it was still warm, makes it easy to cut through. So you can see here I did manage to get it off. This genuinely took me about 2 hours, like no joke. And as you can see here, I had to like tatter the inside a bit with my rotary tool just to get into it. But going back in with a different rotary bit, I've ground it, made it a little bit smoother, widened that hole massively, especially the forwards range, popped it back together, and yeah, you can see like already massive improvement in the forwards bend. Considering we had none before, we've now got a good maybe 45 degrees, giving us essentially a 90-degree angle when it comes to the posing. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to modify the head and the neck. The head so that I can take it off easier for stop motions in the future, but the neck for the articulation. I did this to Toby as well. So I've just gone and taken excess plastic out, cut that little square notch in the back, trying to follow the web lines to some degree, just so it blends in a little bit nicer. So the notch is the only bit you can really see, but you can see how much more range it gives us. And considering Hasbro did this on other figures, I don't know why they didn't do it on these guys. You can see the range I've got more on the tilt as well, and the down. The tilt may be a bit much, but you can never have too much articulation if it's not obvious from just aesthetics. So with the feet, I'm just going to drill straight through the sides, get a hole. I do use a scalpel to create like a little divot so I can get the drill bit in first. And then because I'm using a jewelry saw, I'm going to go and just drill some holes, just so I've got areas to turn the blade around to cut in a different direction. Once that's cut apart, I bring in the rotary tool again, different sanding bit, and I round off all the edges where there's going to be actual movement. You can see there I've also sanded that down. It also neatens up the frayed plastic a little bit from the saw. This little bit of steel, it's 1.6mm diameter. Heat it all up, run it straight through, and you've got, I think, actually the best toe articulation I've done on a figure so far. So that it gets to 90, like, easily. This isn't it all the way up in like this video either, it does go further than that. So now that we've got the toes done, I'm going to go and take a bigger drill bit, drill straight into the what would be the shins, and this is the steel I'm going to be using. This is a 3mm diameter. I believe the last one I used for Toby was 2.5. And then once that's cut down to size, just like that, I heat up the boots just to make it easier, wedge it into that hole, do the same on the shins, and pop it back together. And that's genuinely how simple this tutorial is. This is all of the articulation modifications done that I wanted to do. You've now got boot swivel that I think is actually fairly seamless. Like, you can see it frays out a little bit where the metal's obviously pushing the plastic out a tiny bit, but very seamless. Like, you wouldn't notice it on a shelf. So let's just go over the articulation that I've actually reintroduced into this. You've got a whole lot more range from the head, so you can actually get him looking up when he's crouched down. You can get a little more bit of like expression from his head, get him looking down, side to side, all of it. The diaphragm joint now moves forwards properly. You will end up with a gap in the front and back from the extra articulation, but Toby had it out of the box. I don't know why they didn't give it to Andrew. But you can see here just how much range this introduces to the figure. I imagine if you had hotter water it would have been able to just like pop apart, but because I was using just kettle water, it was quite a bit more difficult. And then we come down to the boot swivel that I added, and down to the toe articulation. There you go, you can see that's a 90 degree once it's bent all the way up. This is something I didn't show with Toby, but he can do it as well. These figures, once they've got toe articulation, can balance just on their toes, and this is like a must-have for my Spider-Man figures for the most part. I ignore it with Marvel Legends normally, but if it's a figure that I'm like really fond of, or a character that I'm very fond of, that is Spider-Man, this is the kind of pose it should be able to get into, especially when Hasbro do this normally. As you saw there, these are my 3D printed parts, painted, printed and modelled by me. So you can see here I've got 4 different heads. I've got the kind of shocked expression from the final fight scene, just a frown, just a standard frown for him. A neutral head. And then my personal favourite is the funny smile kind of look he gives MJ when she throws the bread at him. So all that combined, you end up with these pointing fingers. Obviously I've done this for all 3 of the Spider-Men. Hopefully by this video going up, I will have uploaded all the CGTrader files so you can have access to these STLs. You can print them yourself and you can have this as well. But yeah, this is him finally put together with, I'm just kind of showcasing the heads that I've got here. Some of the poses you can get him into. These are the 2 that I've customised so far. So only Tom left to do now. I'm not too sure how much I'm going to do on him. I'm definitely going to give him all the articulation these guys have, so boot, neck and toe. Just because he doesn't have the best range, especially not having a diaphragm cut like these guys, or the drop down hinge. I might try and find a way to get his thighs to come up higher, because obviously he doesn't have the drop down hips like these 2 do. But yeah, here's just a load of photos and videos of me messing around showing what poses these guys are capable of now. Had to recreate this one. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I do have a few more videos planned. Like I said, I've got the Tom Holland video. I've got the 3 Midas Iron Man figures to go over that will become some of the like house party protocol from Iron Man 3. And I'll leave you with this photo, the thumbnail. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you are interested, stick around because I have more videos like this coming out soon.